Well, we're waiting.
I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised by this one. Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today, let's see if we can find what I'm hoping to be the best $50 area USD price range item for voiceover that has everything in it. Now, I've reviewed tons of other USB mics within the 60 to 50 kind of range. And there's been some good ones, there's been some bad ones. Obviously, a lot of others that have all the features and have the clean sound that you would want being professional cost more than 50 to 60. However, what I have here, I was intrigued by after seeing a couple other review videos. And the microphone that was sent to me, or not sent to me, I was about to say not sent to me, the microphone that I have here, I'm trying to find the number on it. It doesn't say. All right, let's open this up. Ah, there it is. Okay. It's on this. Why is it not on the box? It doesn't actually have the number of the name of the microphone on the box. Am I crazy? All right, well, all right, cool. That's the first time I've been thrown for a loop by that. But we have the K678. The K678. Right there, you can actually kind of see it. This is definitely an homage to the kind of Blue Yeti. It's definitely smaller than the Blue Yeti. Blue Yeti is it's like a thermos, which I think is because it was Yeti thermoses. I think that's what it was. And that was kind of the feel. Anyway, so this is definitely a smaller microphone, but it has the look and it kind of has the design in many ways. That's kind of an homage to that. Now, what's interesting about this is not only the fact that it was relatively inexpensive, it has all the features that I've regularly griped about from other USB microphones. And from what I've heard, it sounds like it could be a pretty competitive and or good option. Now, like I was going to say, before I was interrupted by myself, was that this microphone has not been sent to me. I bought this with my own money, obviously because it is inexpensive. Didn't feel like a huge, like I was going to be blowing a lot of money to do a review that I might not like, might not want, might not enjoy, that kind of stuff. It wasn't that expensive, so I was like, sure, why not? I will say, however, I have already opened this and I have already reviewed it, kind of. Not a real full review, but I did. I opened it up. I checked out all the stuff on the inside. I actually took the this off. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out. Ooh, the reason I'm panicking is because it's not actually attached. It's just kind of like loosely fit. So I had a wedding to go to. I had a friend's wedding to go to, and this arrived earlier than I thought it was going to. And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't damaged because the box that it came in was kind of a weird, the Amazon packaging was kind of weird, and it was this weird shape, and I couldn't tell if it was dented, so I wanted to make sure that all this was fine. I opened it up, and everything was fine, and I wanted to make sure that it was still running, so I did plug it in, and I'd kind of listen to it to make sure it wasn't damaged. But I didn't do technically a full review. That's what we're doing here. Now, I want to say that normally the reason that I've had a lot of issues reviewing a lot of other microphones from a lot of other companies is because a lot of smaller or knockoff companies or companies overseas, when they have microphone products, they're actually buying parts, or they're buying frames, or they're buying stuff from these really cheap factories, and then just slapping their label on them. And fifine, now, I have heard that's not actually how it's supposed to be pronounced, and I'll get to that in a second. I think that's how they started out, but it doesn't feel like that's what it is anymore. I don't think I've seen this shape and this model, other than the fact that it is an homage to the Blue Yeti. I haven't really seen this exact shape and size and model with other labels just printed on it. So it feels like this is a much more original, not necessarily a completely original, but original product. I'll say one thing, it's got some heft to it. As you can see, this is how small it is. I'm trying to not put it, like there, because then it's like, it just fades into the darkness, or all the way over here. It's gone! Yeah, it's got some weight to it. It is metal. The grill does not come off. I actually was trying to see if I could take it off to actually take a look at the capsule, because I cannot see through there, which I'll get to in a second. And it does not come off. I have no idea how you put this thing together. It is just solidly... Maybe this is something that just peels off and then there's screws underneath here. Maybe. I don't know. But, yeah. So it comes with a pretty stout metal stand. I could beat an intruder with this. Obviously, it has a little wing nuts or whatever that attach it. It's got the cable. Put you down for a second. It's got the cable in here, which actually was long enough for at least what I would need it for, because I have a USB hub that's down there that's kind of like at my feet. Whoops. Oh, it's just a plastic cap. And this cable, which again was surprisingly high quality, does reach all the way down there. Now, there is one thing that I think every company needs to kind of move away from, and it's this little USB, micro USB. I think this is micro. I don't think it's mini. No, this is mini. The other one's micro. Mini USB, both mini and micro USBs, pretty much need to just get away from this moment forward. USB-C or USB 3.0 minimum. These, I just don't like these. I don't trust them. They're very small. They don't connect very well, and I always feel like they just can't provide enough power or data to get anything better than 48 at 16. So even microphones that have these that do more than 48 at 16, I don't trust it. So I would just like to see about it. But this is actually a really high quality microphone or cable. High quality cable. So that was nice. And again, it's pretty long, which is going to be more than enough. And last but not least, get out of here. Get out. Okay, we have this adapter. Now, here's probably the first real true gripe that I have about this thus far. In order to connect anything to this microphone, it all goes through the bottom. All of it. Nothing. There's no ports on the side or on the back, which there's clearly enough room for them to have done that, but it's all underneath. And to make it even more awkward, I don't know if you can see this, but the USB is right there this way instead of being that way, so it'll take up less space near the screwing mount. It's right there. So I can't attach this to pretty much anything unless I use their proprietary mount, because this gives it enough, right there. This gives it enough space that you can access the headphone jack and the USB. I did that backwards. The headphone jack and the USB. But without that, it's very, very tricky. It's very, very difficult. If you have any other mounting, it's not going to work. If you have any other adapter, it's just, you're not going to be able to access anything. So I think that's the major gripe. However, if this was a more expensive microphone, that would be way more of a big deal. But due to the fact that this is $50 to $60, I'll let small things like this slide, even though they could have very easily just put it anywhere else. Now, I have a mic stand here, so we're going to attach this bad boy right here. And yes, you are going to be able to hear this microphone. It's not just going to be me talking about it. There are timestamps in the description. Feel free to use those at your discretion. But there we go. There is this little bad boy right there. I don't remember which is the front. Oh, this is the front. Because the label. The front is where the name is. And pretty much the only control that you have on the front is just a mute button, which I see a lot of microphones that have mute buttons. It's really unnecessary. It really is. First off, you can access the mute on any live connection software like Zoom, Skype, Discord. They all have a mute button. You can go down into your settings and you can mute it really easily, just one click of a button. You can, on all your streaming software and recording software, you can hit mute or deactivate the audio. You can do all kinds of stuff. You really don't need the button. Just put something else there. Move these dials on the front, and then this space back here, have the headphone jack or something like that. That would have been how I would have designed it. But again, these are kind of just minor gripes. If this was a more expensive microphone, then my gripes would be more sound. But again, saving a lot of money with this. So if there's small issues, I'm more willing to let it slide. Now, let me clean up this. Let me clean up this, get some stuff out of the way, and then let's plug this in and listen to it. All right, I got to do this all over again, this part, because here's one of the things I don't like, is that the settings, there's like 3 or 4 places I can find the settings. There's settings on here, there's settings in my, on my computer, and then there's settings in the recording space, in the recording software. And I didn't notice until after I had finished recording that it was peaking, even though it sounded fine in my headphones, because the levels on here are actually pretty low. The headphone is all the way up, and the microphone is very, very low, which is kind of good, because that means it's more of a hot mic. That means it's a little bit more of a sensitive microphone, which is really, really good if you're doing character work. It's because if you're doing character work, you're doing video game, you're doing animation, which is what most people who come to my channel are looking into getting into, because that is the majority of what I do. You need a microphone that you can, record into that, has a lot of range. Now, I will say this, really hot microphone, if you have to make sure that you can turn the gain far enough down, either in the settings or on the device, that you can do screaming. A microphone for doing character work and animation, you have to be able to scream without peaking, without any kind of distortion, without any kind of funkiness with the audio, with the recording, and you have to be able to whisper without a lot of self-generated noise. So that's why a lot of my reviews, I'm going to move this back towards me. That's why a lot of the reviews I've been very critical, is because when it comes to character work and animation, the bar is actually pretty high. A lot higher than things like commercial narration or audiobook or radio. With radio, it's pretty much expected that all of your audio is going to have a lot of mixing, it's going to have music, and there's always going to be sound effects, and most of it's going to be pumped through like a car speaker. Very rarely do people listen to radio anywhere other than their car nowadays. I mean, that was true back in the day as well, like not that far back in the day. But, yeah. And when it comes to audiobook, most websites compress it pretty far down, so you kind of have this kind of low quality sound to it anyway. And commercial narration, you're not screaming and you're not really whispering, so most of the recorded audio is going to be within the sweet spot anyway. And then there's normally going to be music or normally going to be sound effects. But when it comes to character work and animation, sometimes there's absolutely no There's no background music. There's no sound effects. Sometimes it's just you're just talking to a character, and you need to be able to hit every single bit of the range, which is why my bar is a good bit higher. Now, let's get into the re-review of this microphone. So a couple things that I really, really like, and there's a couple things that I really, really don't like. Let me go ahead and say this out of the gate. I think this is a great mic. I think it's a great mic. I think this is a wonderful starting out, getting into voiceover microphone. I think it's good for the price. I think the sound is good. I think a lot of the features are good. It's good. Now, having said that, and yes, I do think that you could do character work with this microphone, for the most part. It has some limitations. I don't think, and I don't feel, that this is a professional microphone in the sense that you can do character work and you can do animation and you can do video games and you can do all that kind of stuff. You can do YouTube videos, you can do talking head, you can do podcasts, you can do radio, you can do commercial narration, you can do audiobook. Audiobook, actually, you can probably do some pretty good audiobook with this one. But you're kind of limited as far as how far up the chain you can go. You can do character work and animation, but you can't do anime dubbing remotely. You can't do, bigger studio work like union work, and there's some larger niches, there's some larger companies, there's some larger avenues, there's some larger, areas of voiceover that this microphone probably won't work. Now, it's still going to be great for doing auditions for all that kind of stuff. If all you needed was a space to do auditions and you were always going to be going into the studio, which is very rare nowadays, but if that was the case, like let's say you had an agency that they had their own studio, some of them do, and they basically they book the time themselves if anyone needs to record, but they need you to have a place to quietly record auditions because they can't have everyone come in for auditions. This would be a great audition mic, period. For all of it. As long as everybody knows that this is not your actual sound. Your demo still needs to be really, really good. Your demo needs to be killer. Your demo needs to not be on the same mic. If this is going to be, if you're shooting for the stars, if you're shooting for union work, if you're shooting for big-time anime stuff, if you're shooting for AAA video games, this would be good for auditions, but it's not going to be great for recording that work because this is not going to sync up and edit well and mix well with other microphones. So it is kind of limited. But for like 90% of the work out there, like if you were to go to castingcall.club, which is not, I'm not saying that that's like low on the bar. What I'm saying is castingcall.club, a good chunk of it does actually have a good chunk of the auditions that you can get, a good chunk of the work is, because it's open to pretty much anyone, you can get a lot of clients from varying different degrees. So you can find independent animators, independent content creators, small video game companies, which a lot of them might actually be okay with this microphone, might actually be okay with the quality of this. There's some people doing comic book dubs. There's some people doing, funny animation for YouTube, that kind of stuff. This would probably be fine for that. This would be fine. This would be great. It's clean. It's relatively clean. In fact, let's go ahead and do the noise floor test right now. It's not bad. There is some hiss there. There is some internal noise being generated, but it's not bad. It's not over the top. I've heard microphones that are significantly worse. This would not be hard to clean up, as long as you're not whispering. If you're doing a lot of whispering, like really, really quiet, if you're a very quiet, soft-spoken kind of person, and you got to turn the gain up so that anyone can hear you, you're going to be bringing that noise floor up. You're going to bring in all that noise up to the top with you. So that's not going to be your thing. But if you're speaking at my volume or louder, the louder you speak and the more you normalize it, that pushes the noise floor down. So it would be fine for that. It'd be absolutely fine. Now, this microphone is intended for podcasts, streamers, YouTube videos, that kind of stuff. And they nailed it with that. They knocked it out of the park. It's got a lot of extra features like the mute. But it is there just in case you need it. Like, I'm assuming that the idea is if it's like a streamer and because it's all digital and they're in the middle of a game or whatever, the microphone's normally going to be relatively close to you, much closer than sometimes the settings or anything, because you got to get out of the whatever it is that you're streaming, or you don't have like one of those Elgato button things that's got everything mapped and programmed in. We can just hit mute. And you got to sneeze, and you don't want to just blast right into your viewers' ears. You can do that, and then you're fine. So there is that. And then there's obviously some structural weirdness. Not problems, weirdness. And, it's a little hot, and it's a little muddy. There's not a lot of clarity. There's not a lot of articulation. I think the larger the capsule is, the more of that low end that you get, the lower the bass, the more of the quieter, subtler sounds that you'll get. Also, the more clarity, the more clean detail in the nuance of your voice you'll pick up. So this capsule is relatively small. I think from the description, it was like a nickel size, maybe. So that means that you're not going to be picking up a lot of the clarity. But what you do have here is still good. Again, you can do auditions for pretty much everything in this. As long as everybody knows this is not what you'd actually be recording it on. This is your audition mic. And then you have an actual studio that you can actually go into. And then anything that's not union work, anything that's not AAA, anything that's not major studios, and it is stuff that you could find on Twitter, stuff that you could find online, stuff that you could find on castingcall.club. Yeah, you could absolutely do work. You can do work on Fiverr with this. You can do all kinds of stuff. This is actually really, really good. It's really good. I don't actually have that many complaints, which kind of bugs me. Because normally I just rip into these things. That was another thing that I think I said in the previous recording that I'm going to delete. Oh my gosh. My podcastage going to throw this. Apparently, the company, I think it's pronounced fifine and not fifine. I'm going to keep saying fifine just because I'm used to it. And I think I recorded some microphones and stuff of theirs before, and I said fifine in the video, and they never corrected me. So it's on them. But I think it's pronounced fine. I don't know. But, yeah, it's packaged well. It's a pretty dense foam, so it didn't get destroyed. Has all the features that you'd need. It's relatively clean. It's inexpensive. And, yeah, it's not a cheap knockoff. It's pretty good. Now, I can't technically recommend this for everyone because, again, it depends on your voice. And it still needs to be in a well-treated space. It still needs to be in a well-treated space like this. And not everyone's voice is going to sound good on this. If you have a very sharp, tinny voice, like if it's just really sibilant, like naturally sibilant, stay away from, relatively cheap and inexpensive USB mics because those often have like a little bit sharper sound to them. You're going to want to go with something that has some richness, some bass to it. Probably go with a shotgun mic, and you can point it at your chest and kind of cut through some of that sibilance. But for the majority of people just getting into voiceover, that's just building their career, this would be great. Another thing that I would highly recommend for it is a on-the-road mic. You're going on the road, you don't want to bring your expensive stuff. just grab one of these. It's pretty sturdy. I feel like if I drop it, it'd be fine. You just put it in a little pouch, have a little collapsible tripod, maybe a little pop filter. You don't want to use one of these, though. I will say this. I did do some tests with this, and this really muddied it up because this just took away a lot of the detail in my voice was gone. So you're going to want a pop filter that kind of like goes in front of it, as long as it doesn't prevent any the clarity and detail of your sound, of your voice. And then, yeah, just travel with this little pair of headphones, laptop, iPad. I think it actually, no, I don't think this does connect to iPad. I'd have to see. I don't think so. Give me a second. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's just like laptop or computer or whatever. But yeah, you'd be able to do that and just fine. And the reason I would say that is because this is $50 to $60. If this broke, it's not that big a deal. I wouldn't feel terrible. I wouldn't be like, my life is over. Like, if something happens to my Sennheiser, I'm going to cry. I'm going to genuinely cry. But if something happened to this, and like this was my audition mic, if I didn't know that I had some auditions to do, if I wasn't expecting like a large client or a large studio, or if I knew that I didn't need to do any pickups, or that all of my previous orders were good and taken care of and I wasn't going to be gone very long, I just bring this just in case. If I had, I knew I had some big clients, or I knew I needed to do some pickups and I had to take something with me, I'd probably figure something out with my more expensive stuff. But if I brought this and something bad happened to it, I'm fine. Not going to cry. But I would still be able to record something. I'd still be able to do some kind of auditions. So, yeah, there you go. I hope you guys liked the video. Finally found a good USB that is relatively inexpensive, that will work for, I think, a good number of you, especially the ones just getting into voiceover. I think this actually would be a really good option. You're not breaking the bank. You're not, you're not putting yourself out. Just make sure that you are focusing more on your space. Just focus more on your space. And then slowly but surely, as you start doing a little bit of work that you can find on Twitter and on castingcall.club or Fiverr, then start saving up to replace this. But I would say hold on to it. Hold on to it. It may be a good backup, and it may be a good audition mic. So, yeah, that's going to be it. And hope you guys liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. Subscribe if you're new, bell for notifications, and leave down in the comment section below. Like to see me review any other microphones or talk about anything else. Have any questions? Totally fine. Also, link to the microphone will be in the description. And yeah, it's going to be it. So, until next time, peace.